This is not the church of Joseph Smith.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. I've got more Star Watch stuff for you, as we just finished Passover week yesterday with a final Gabriel sounding of the earth. That's the word I was looking for. Let me see if I can find it, as I delay the video. Voice. Yeah. Psalms. The voice of thy thunder was in the heaven. The lightnings lighted the world. The earth trembled and shook. And Revelation. Angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. 16. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake. So mighty an earthquake and great. You were past feeling, Mormons, in 1 Nephi chapter 17, verse 45, that you could not feel his words, wherefore he hath spoken unto you like unto the voice of thunder, which did cause the earth to shake. Yes, Mormons, that's what Magna was all about. You are past feeling. Thank you, Nephi. That's the trigger word that I was looking for in my search. Looking for sound, and I couldn't find it under sound. I found other stuff under sound, but it was the voice. You're not listening to the still small voice and cause the earth to shake. Yeah. Opening of the earth. Voice caused the earth to shake. Over and over again. My goodness, it's all over the Book of Mormon. No wonder I remembered it, but couldn't remember it was voice instead of sound. Wow. The whole earth did tremble before our feet. Shook the whole earth. I'm in Alma. Yeah, so that's where I got it from. My mind is at ease. Back to the heavens and those signs. As you saw from the picture that I hope I put in there for you, the waning moon that just passed all three planets of Jupiter, who is the last day's Moses, Saturn, which corresponds with the judge of the battle between Moses and Pharaoh, Pharaoh being Mars, who was the third one, who at midnight this previous night was when the moon was at Mars on the last day of Passover. And Mars was the one who got up at conference weekend and spoke the words of Lucifer, the goat beast, the false Christ, the false prophet, as he's half goat, half fish. The true Christ and prophet, Moses, is the two fish. And so I know, Mormons, you've not studied any of this. You're clueless about all of it. You don't understand because you haven't been taught and haven't been educated. But if you're going to dismiss it, that's to your peril. because of what is coming. See, now that the Passover is completed, and during the coronavirus, Pharaoh has to give up the throne so that Moses can be the Pharaoh of the house of Israel, as was the story. And interesting that the Egyptians, as Pharaoh gives the throne over to Moses, because Pharaoh's firstborn is dead, and so Pharaoh has no lineage to take over succession of the throne. And so Moses then becomes the default Pharaoh as a new dynasty begins. And so the Egyptians, for some reason, which is not understood, they give their money and treasure to the Israelites. Well, that's because Moses took over as the new Pharaoh, and that's part of the tribute tax of the people. But in our day, guess what's going on with the coronavirus? Coronavirus occurs, and now we're getting the coronavirus stimulus checks, hopefully deposited. For those of you who got direct deposit, I finally figured out how to contact the IRS through their system and got my direct deposit put in there for them. I still have to wait for approval and thus find out when I'm going to get my direct deposit, unless Trump pulls a Trump and bails on giving people their money, as there's already a whole bunch of scandals already, and we just barely got started in it. But so that's going on. Exactly everything from the story of Moses confronting Pharaoh has happened and is occurring in real time. And so that's why I'm like going whole hog on this, is because this is it, guys. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, well, it wasn't yesterday, the last day of Passover, so when is it? Is there a sign in the heaven that I can look to figure this out? To see as a seer into the future in the Stellarium program I have. My Urim and Thummim. As I look into the heavens, just like Abraham. And it occurred to me yesterday, but I didn't write it down in my little notebook here, as I'm trying to save the post-it notes, because this is the last of the non-pink post-it notes. I don't want to use up the pink. I want to be sparing, so I'm doing a drastic change in using the notebook of paper that I was given in the divorce settlement. And so I wrote it down today, though, and have a few moments to talk about it. On the 22nd, next week, is the new moon. That's when the waning moon finishes. It's completed at that point. It is now completely dark. It's a new moon, because soon thereafter it starts to wax, grow, and become a full moon. And this is symbolic of death and rebirth. And so I thought, let's check out the signs, and that's what you see. Hopefully you see. If I remember to put it in, I did capture it although it was still processing after I exited and got into the internet. So I hope it didn't cause a delay and whatever else. But you'll notice that the new moon is with the sun. That's how eclipses occur. It's during new moons. The solar eclipses occur during new moons. So you have the new moon, which in and of itself is an eclipse, with the full moon, or the sun, and when it overlaps, results in a solar eclipse with the lunar eclipse. So thus we had the one in 2017, which was the one I knew that we were in it. But this one, you'll notice, it's not a solar eclipse for this one. It's just a lunar eclipse. The religion part. Sun is government, moon is religion. And thus the two eyes of Horus, sun, moon. And when they go dark, that means a collapse or a death. And we've seen that. With the 2017, all hell broke loose. And we're now in the final Moses coronavirus. And so notice that the sun and the moon are between Pisces and Aries. And so it's in Cetus, the whale constellation. That part of the sky is considered the sea. And so Jonah and the whale, yeah, that's where that comes from. And Jonah gets spit up by the whale rather than slaying it, as is the myth of Cetus. So notice death, Cetus, the whale. And this is another sign symbolism, sign in the heavens for you guys. Cetus is the whale that is slain by Perseus, the Moses character, who saves the princess Zion, Andromeda, because she's trying to be murdered by Poseidon. Where's his trident? Huh. Oh well. The statue was missing his trident, just like Moroni was missing his trumpet during the eclipse by Gabriel. Or not the eclipse, during the earthquake by Gabriel. And Magna, strong, Gabriel. And so Poseidon represents the trident is the psi, which is for psychiatry, psychology, psychotherapy, all the brainwashing careers. And so, yes, Perseus saves Zion from psychologists and therapists and counselors. But it's interesting that it's at the head of Cetus, which is where the psyche is. And very interesting. And I've been going over brainwashing, and I tried to start a thing of I can't remember the playlist title for it, but yeah, when you have Nelson getting up in conference and saying Jesus is now built upon the cornerstone of the church, rather than the church is built upon the cornerstone of Jesus. And then compromise by having the cornerstone as Jesus and then the rest of the foundation as the church. Couldn't do that. Had to put Jesus on top. It still would have been real cool to have Jesus next to the church, but nope, he blew it. He already designated it, set in stone. Thus it is said, thus it is written. What does Pharaoh call it in Ten Commandments? So let it be, so it is said, so let it be done. Something, I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, but it is something to look forward to. Saturn, which I've already identified as the judges in the case between the Pharaoh church and the Moses that is ongoing, is going to Saturn's the judge, and they're at the mouth of the goat beast. But yet, yeah, I don't know. The death of the church, conquering the whale. So Mars is still in the fish part of the goat beast. So I don't know. But that it is a sign to watch out for. As Perseus slain Cetus, the whale sea monster. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, we're also, the government of America, the Americans, are giving money to the Israelites as a coronavirus stimulus after Passover. So, yeah, fascinating times. Dwarf galaxy of the star 26 Ceti. Yeah. Alrighty.